The female protagonist does not like to be a bad person and refuses moral kidnapping. The female protagonist is growth-oriented and refuses to be a green tea bitch. This article mainly focuses on Shuangwen. The male protagonist accompanied the female protagonist all the way, and since life was already difficult, he stopped being cruel and supported each other. Ruo Qingxue was loved the most by her grandfather since she was young. The bracelet he gave her was a precious treasure passed down from generation to generation, but no one could open it. On Ruo Qingxue's 18th birthday, her grandfather asked her to try it out, but it actually opened. After her grandfather passed away, he also gave the inheritance to Ruo Qingxue. After Grandpa left, if Qingxue became a surgeon, she would rely on space and her own abilities to buy a house and a car, as well as hoard a lot of supplies and read many novels. She was afraid that one day she would travel by herself, and that's what she was afraid of. Cold, the dark wind woke me up. It was dark all around, and I shuddered. This is not my home. I remember just finishing a surgery and feeling extremely tired. I took a taxi home and fell asleep on the bed. Shouldn't I be sleeping soundly on my big bed? How did you run to this desolate wilderness, a gloomy and dilapidated place? Looking around, I'm sure it's under a cliff. Did I catch up with the trend of traveling? Chapter 1. I time traveled. You are listening at of.Audio. Cold, the dark wind woke me up. It was dark all around, and I shuddered. This is not my home. I remember just finishing a surgery and feeling extremely tired. I took a taxi home and fell asleep on the bed. Shouldn't I be sleeping soundly on my big bed? How did you run to this desolate wilderness, a gloomy and dilapidated place? Looking around, I'm sure it's under a cliff. Did I catch up with the trend of traveling? The person also became a bit more energetic. I looked around at the environment, looked at the clothes of the original owner, and confirmed that I had traveled through ancient times. Fortunately, I had not traveled to the primitive society, so I probably have to cry now. Suddenly, a voice came to my mind, Master, you're awake, I'm Ball, I finally came out. I followed the sound and looked at a black ball. Why is there a moving small black ball in my space? I just realized that the place I am currently in is my room, and I am holding a black fur ball in my hand. Are you? I am your space tool spirit. I looked at it. How come I didn't know that my own space still had a tool spirit? My space is an ancestral bracelet that my grandfather gave me. My grandfather said it's a treasure, but no one has ever opened it. On my 18th birthday, my grandfather asked me to drop my blood on it, and I got this space and it disappeared, as if this bracelet had fused with my brain. This space allows for easy collection of items, and people can also enter. Items can remain stationary within the space. I didn't expect this thing that can be seen in novels to actually appear in reality. Grandpa buried his belongings during the turmoil. Grandma was originally everyone's young lady. Her father was in business and had his own leather shop. During the turmoil, he was bullied by landlords, bandits, and several times of intimidation, which scared him to death. He left behind some family property and told Grandma about the burial site on his deathbed. During the turbulent period, my grandmother hid in our black land from Liaoning. Later, in the 1980s, my grandparents went back and found the buried gold jewelry and brought it back. But it has never been mentioned to outsiders before. On the surface, my grandfather is a farmer. When he gets old, he stops working early and hires a helper to raise a group of sheep. Life is also full of ups and downs, not lacking in food and clothing, unable to finish lamb, and passed away in the first few years. When I passed away, let me collect all the gold and jewelry. Qingxue, Grandpa knows you are kind and righteous. Your parents prioritize sons over daughters and rarely care about you. Leave here and live in a big city, away from harm. The bracelet Grandpa gave you, don't tell anyone, including your parents, to take away the things under my bed. I looked at my grandfather with tears on my face, but he still left. After graduating, I successfully completed my postgraduate studies and came to a city in the south. I started as an intern in a hospital and now I am an outstanding surgeon. I left home. Without my grandfather's home, it was always cold and cold. I rarely recall these years. The gold in the space has intermittently replaced it with supplies, stored in the space. I have also bought and read a lot of novels in the past few years, such as Time Travel, Rebirth, Apocalypse, Ancient Primitive, Everything, and have also summarized some experiences. It's always right to store more supplies, especially anti-towels, food and clothing, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, tea, pots and pans, knives, fast food, my favorite foods, milk tea, breakfast. Whenever I have time, I just stock up on them. I also bought a lot of children's clothes, bottles of milk powder, and diapers. What if I cross over one day, or if the world suddenly ends? That small country in Japan is very bad. It discharges nuclear wastewater into the sea and doesn't do anything good every day. Our world's glaciers are constantly melting, sea levels are constantly rising, and the greenhouse effect is becoming more severe. The temperature of the earth is constantly rising, and viruses are constantly spreading. Who knows if something unexpected will happen to us tomorrow? Stock up more supplies, I feel at ease. In order to tidy up, I also bought a lot of shelves. Now it's a large comprehensive supermarket, with a large generator, cars, oil, books on human civilization, and many videos downloaded from the computer. I'm always afraid that if one day I wake up and find myself suddenly crossing over, what should I do? I have stored all the supplies in it step by step. Anyway, the space is infinite, and I also bought a lot of seeds and seedlings. After finishing my favorite fruit, I always like to throw the seeds into the soil of the space. There is a spring in the space that can treat diseases and accelerate seed growth. I secretly opened a small supermarket, making it convenient for me to sell my fruits and also for me to stock up on supplies. Someone helped me keep an eye on the store, and computers were used for collection and monitoring. I am not afraid of anyone cheating. I have already become a little rich woman, with savings, buying a car and a house, but the job of a doctor is truly tiring. Is there a saying that I'm afraid people will die, money won't be spent, and I'm afraid I'm exhausted? I don't have time to enjoy it, what do I fear? I'm exhausted, and I've traveled through time. I am holding this black little spirit in my arms, feeling very warm. In the original world, it is also myself. Without my grandfather, in this world, there is such a lovely little spirit accompanying me. Suddenly, I feel not lonely at all, and may feel my sadness. The little spirit quietly accompanies me, giving me a feeling of peaceful time. Chapter 2. Visiting your space. You are listening at novel.Full.audio. When Ruo Qingxue was stunned, suddenly many unfamiliar memories surged into her heart and spread to her mind. The original owner, also known as Ruo Qingxue, was 15 years old and was the legitimate young lady of a general's mansion, but lived a life that was inferior to that of a pig or a dog. It is said that the mother of the original owner gave birth to her and died shortly after. It is said that Ruo Qingxue's father was very poor when General Ruo was young. Ruo Qingxue's mother helped him, and Ruo Qingxue's father only married her mother. After her mother's death, her father became very disgusted with the original owner. If Qingxue's father had a large number of wives and concubines, and his father doted on his concubines, his mother would pass away at the age of 1. If Qingxue's father carries his concubine as a stepmother, the original owner will live as a transparent person. If Qingxue was raised by a wet nurse since she was young, and the wet nurse was her mother's maid, she was very kind to the original owner. In General Ruo's mansion, Ruo Qingxue is not as good as servants in terms of food and accommodation. Fortunately, the wet nurse is kind to the original owner and often secretly gives him some delicious food at night. The food is not too much, only enough to eat and eat. If Qingxue had only grown up to accommodate her, she might have starved to death long ago. The original owner was very sensible, and as he grew older, he also had some ulterior motives. He secretly hid the things given by the wet nurse and ate a little when he didn't eat them. The cunning rabbit's 3 burrows are like a mouse, constantly stealing holes just to store food, so that the original owner gradually stops starving and grows up. The original owner thought that she could grow up safely with her intelligence, but he didn't expect her to be killed by his good stepsister. It's really easy to block with a clear spear, but difficult to defend against a hidden arrow. Ruo Qingxue's wet nurse often says how smart her mother is and how much she loves Ruo Qingxue. She said her mother left some things for her and buried them underground, so that Ruo Qingxue could remember them and retrieve them later. The wet nurse secretly taught the original owner how to read, and the original owner secretly learned medical skills. The wet nurse saved the original owner from many disasters. Unfortunately, as I grew older, I passed away last year and left the original owner behind. The father of the original owner was a great general. The mother of the eldest prince is the empress, and in order to win over the courtiers, he wants to marry the legitimate young lady of the general's mansion. The younger sister was afraid that her sister would snatch the seat of her eldest princess, so when her mother secretly told her, she thought about getting rid of the original owner. Anyway, the original owner is not liked by his father, and even if he dies, it's nothing. The original owner thought that his stepmother was very bad, but he didn't expect them to directly want her life. The original owner was calculated and pushed to the bottom of the cliff. It may have been because someone else had died, but it was unusually cold inside. The original owner probably didn't want to die before. Don't worry, I will avenge you. You can leave with peace of mind. If Qingxue feels that, I don't know if it's her illusion, she feels that her heart suddenly feels much easier, not as blocked as before, and her breathing is also much smoother. She needs to plan carefully how to go in the future. I first visited her own space, where there was a modern large house by Ruo Qingxue. She was surprised to find it brought over. My 1.8-meter big bed, my refrigerator, my computer, and my water heater can all work. Oh my God! If Qingxue keeps exclaiming, it's unbelievable. Although there is no internet, if Qingxue is already satisfied, she should not be too greedy in her life. She should be content and always be content. If Qingxue discovers that the things she had previously hoarded have turned into a large supermarket, with storage areas like boxes, sorted and organized. Very intelligent, if Qingxue really likes it. After all, no one wants their territory to be messy. Everyone likes to be clean and tidy, and the more you see clear snow, the more comfortable it becomes. It says that snacks, kitchen utensils, seeds, rice and noodles, and daily necessities are all packaged separately, and there is also a house. There are books inside, all of which are ancient texts, probably from ancestors. Previously, if Qingxue couldn't see them, it was probably because the earth had no spiritual energy and space had not been upgraded. Now that this world has spiritual energy and space has also been upgraded, that's why this house appeared. If Qingxue sees some pills, many books, and many treasures, their value is not insignificant at first glance. There are also books and materials on alchemy, qi cultivation, and drawing symbols. Ancestors are really a great expert. If Qingxue strolled around and her eyes were fixed on the spring water, which used to relieve fatigue, I wonder if it will have any unexpected functions after the space upgrade now. If Qingxue never stops drinking, novels often say that the spring water in the space has the function of washing tendons and cutting marrow. At first, I didn't feel much, but it didn't take 5 minutes. If Qingxue were in pain, she would faint. If Qingxue really wanted to use foul language, her bones would feel broken, and she would lose a whole circle. The original owner was already very thin, but now he has become even thinner. The stench on his body is spreading, which must be impurities from his body. His stomach also hurts. If Qingxue runs to the bathroom, he can solve the problem with the larger size. After another round of cleaning, I washed 3 times before feeling that my body no longer had the smell of waste. Half a bottle of shower gel and shampoo finally came out fragrant. I feel like my skin is white and tender, and my hair is black and straight. This ancient and pure natural thing is good. Looking at herself in the mirror, she couldn't help but sigh, she is really a beauty. Even more beautiful than her idol Lu Mofei. If Qingxue felt like she could play the role of little dragon girl in another white outfit. If Qingxue chooses to find a set of ancient costumes from the space, this is the clothes she specially prepared for fear of traveling to ancient times. She also prepared Tang costumes, 1960s Zhongshan costumes, etc. Prepare more, be prepared. You should find a book to practice now. In the memory of the original owner, there are still many people in this world who know martial arts. In ancient times, people revered martial arts and were able to take a horse stance at the age of 4.5. The original owner was weak and sickly, without a mother's care since childhood. The abuse of my stepmother is good enough to live. Unable to guard against the mother of the original master, she is a top-notch expert. In order to avoid her enemies, she refused to let the original master practice for some reason. Perhaps the mother of the original owner did not die at all, only the golden silkworm shed its shell. If Qingxue keeps speculating about the situation of the original owner's mother, after all, novels and TV dramas are all portrayed in that way. If Qingxue travels through time and reads novels frequently, her mind is filled with a lot of mixed thoughts. If Qingxue is not the original owner and has already washed her tendons and cut her marrow, she must cultivate. In this society, there is no real ability to protect oneself, and if Qingxue is determined, she will not dare to go out. After all, if Qingxue could see her appearance and grow into such a face, without the ability to protect herself, the more beautiful a woman would be, the more dangerous she would be, and it would be easy for her to be targeted and become a plaything for powerful people. If Qingxue looked at her face and sighed. If the original master's home is clear snow, he will not return, but the revenge against the original master must be avenged. In the memory of the original owner, this world only knows martial arts and does not know the concept of cultivation. It's great, no one cultivates. There are many cultivation techniques in the space, and if Qingxue feels that she can first cultivate in the space and have the ability to protect herself before going out, the requirement of having the ability to protect herself is still easy to achieve. Chapter 3 Begins Cultivation. You are listening at novel.Full.audio. If Qingxue had a full meal first, Xiahikyu would take her to her ancestor's study. Xiao Hei first searched for many techniques on how to cultivate, and then pulled Ruo Qingxue to test his spiritual roots. Testing the spiritual root is actually very simple, it is to place your hand on the crystal ball, concentrate and remain calm. If Qingxue puts her hand on the crystal ball, she feels a force that attracts her whole body. The crystal ball actually shines, and it is colorful. The color is very beautiful, and the color is getting brighter and brighter. It feels like it needs to illuminate the entire space. The crystal ball finally lit up, and if Qingxue felt like it was about to explode, she would be dumbfounded on the spot. She looked at the beautiful colorful light, but couldn't be happy at all. Is this a waste material physique? Isn't it said in their books that spiritual roots are all single series, okay? Why is this of hers colorful? It shouldn't be 9 colors, because over time, the crystal ball turned black and eventually returned to colorless. If Qingxue looked more and more sad, she felt like she was about to cry. Xiao Hei, however, was very excited and said happily, "Master, you are the entire series, the heavenly spirit root, and the best among the best." Really? After hearing this, Ruo Qingxue was very happy. Really, absolutely true, little black ball said confidently. If Qingxue hugged Xiao Hei, rubbed her and said happily, "I'm so happy. I have spiritual roots now, and it's top-notch in the entire series." If Qingxue wants to shout excitedly twice, after being happy, she thinks about the future. If Qingxue went to the study and found the advanced foundational technique of fire spirit root cultivation, the burning heaven technique. For newcomers, it's best to keep a low profile. In the future, if Qingxue is outside, she plans to show off her single-type fire spirit root first to avoid being too shocking and jealous. There is a saying that goes, if a tree is beautiful in the forest, it must be urged first. Instead of showing off, Ruo Qingxue prefers to make a fortune quietly. I heard that cultivating immortals can be overwhelming. If Qingxue finds a marrow washing pill, a wooden bucket, and pours in a lot of spring water, she can soak herself in the spring water again. Although the previous Lingquan has already been used to cleanse the essence and marrow, the book states that the wash marrow pill can not only remove impurities from the body, but also widen the veins. If Qingxue didn't hesitate to put the wash marrow pill into her mouth, the pill would melt in her mouth, and soon she would feel it. If Qingxue's face also kept turning white, beads of sweat slowly seeped out of her forehead. If Qingxue bites her lips tightly and doesn't let herself scream, the medicinal effect will wash away her meridians time and time again. If Ruo Qingxue kept repeating the mnemonic of the burning spirit technique in her mind, she felt a warm sensation rising from her dantian and wandering through her entire body. She was very excited. If Qingxue couldn't believe it, she would say, "Did I successfully introduce qi into my body? Didn't they say that it would take a month of cultivation to be effective no matter what? This is also too easy for me." All the gas around her penetrated into Ruo Qingxue's body. She felt that the gas around her was accumulating more and more, constantly squeezing and breaking through barriers. Finally, the gas solidified and stayed at 1/3 of the dantian. If Qingxue excitedly muttered to herself, "I have already infused qi into my body, and with the help of wash marrow pill and spirit water, I have broken through the 3rd level of qi refining in one fell swoop. I feel like my entire body is full of energy." After taking a shower again, changing clothes, I couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, there is a washing machine in my big house, isn't it? I am now a cultivator, and I can learn some small spells in the future, such as cleaning techniques, which will be very practical. If Qingxue feels that she must learn the cleansing technique first, the more she thinks, the more beautiful she becomes, and she is very happy. If Qingxue had just come out, Xiao Hei would be excited and run over, "Master, you are amazing. You are the most amazing person I have ever seen. Rainbow farts are like jumping out without money." If Qingxue rubbed it and said, "I can practice now, and I'm also very happy." If Qingxue made a big table of dishes and rice, Xiahikyu would be very happy to eat. Xiahikyu may have not eaten anything for a long time. Before, when Qingxue was eating fast food boxed meals, it always said it was delicious and wanted to taste anything she saw. If Qingxue also took it, snack goods. Fortunately, if Qingxue has stored enough things, and if Qingxue also finds that her stored things will be automatically replenished. Of course, it's only limited to what she brought from modern times, ancient things, such as when she took a wash marrow pill and didn't make up for it, but that's it. If Qingxue also thinks this is good, it's very satisfying. To be a person, one should be content. The reason why one first learns the fire spirit root is because she was a doctor before, and the original owner also self-taught medical knowledge. She wants to become an alchemist. I can make money, and in the future, if I were Qingxue, I would definitely be a super rich woman. The little one in my heart, so beautiful that I can die. If Qingxue plans to make money first and develop her own power in the future, as for the reward, the reason why Qingxue wants to take it slow is that she has just arrived in this world and needs to familiarize herself with it first. In the blink of an eye, she left space and returned to the bottom of the cliff where she had fallen before. I came to this world. Chapter 4. Saving People at the Cliff Bottom. You are listening at novel-full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Awakens. You are listening at novel-full.audio. Maybe Xianyuan Chen was too hungry and woke up by the taste of congee. He opened his eyes and saw a woman in white, who was less than 15 years old and looked like a fairy, very beautiful, giving people a feeling of not eating human fireworks. But he was doing things like setting fire and cooking there, and Xian Yuanchen didn't come to his senses for a moment. His eyes were fixed on Ruo Qingxue, staring straight at him, staring blankly. His gaze was too direct and straightforward, and if Qingxue wanted to ignore it, she couldn't ignore it. With a face that shared the anger of both humans and gods, her complexion didn't feel as white anymore. With a face that was serious about speaking and smiling, she just looked at Ruo Qingxue without saying anything. If Qingxue feels Alexander in her heart. Finally, if Qingxue really couldn't withstand it, she said hello first. Hello, my name is Ruo Qingxue. Xian Yuanchen said 3 words coldly. If Qingxue hesitated for a moment, she would hear Xuan Yuanchen say, "Thank you for saving me. I will repay you in the future." If Qingxue chuckled lightly and found this person very interesting and disliked owing, it was quite similar to herself. She always wanted to repay her debt earlier to feel at ease. Such a person would not be so bad either. If Qingxue brings him a bowl of chicken and wild vegetable congee, it is better for the seriously injured person to be light, and he takes it and eats it. If Qingxue looked at the empty person and stared at Xuan Yuanchen with big eyes, she thought to herself, do people nowadays have such a lack of defense? But if Qingxue didn't ask. Xian Yuanchen saw that Ruo Qingxue didn't speak, but he kept looking at him, so he asked Ruo Qingxue, "What's wrong?" If Qingxue directly asked her heart, "Are you not afraid of me harming you?" Xian Yuanchen suddenly chuckled lightly and said, "If you want to harm me, there will be many opportunities to take action during my serious injury. Did you put in so much effort to save me just to kill me now? There are no other demands, don't you feel at a loss?" Oh. He can laugh, and he looks good when he smiles. If Qingxue didn't notice for a moment, she would be stunned again. Suddenly interrupted by Xian Yuanchen's words, I quickly regained my senses and realized that I had been stunned just now. I could only sigh, beauty is deceiving. If Qingxue was shocked by Xuan Yuanchen's words, she thought to herself, originally, he saw through my own carelessness and realized that I had ulterior motives. Can't this fairy do good deeds and help him without seeking anything in return when she sees him injured? It seems that I still need to hide my careful thoughts. People in this era are very intelligent, and without asking a word, they know my thoughts. It's really annoying. I don't know if it's because she's obsessed with masculinity, or if the temperature of the fire is too high, or if her thoughts are exposed. In short, if Qingxue feels a little hot on her face. Ruo Qingxue thought for a moment, but still told the truth. My name is Ruo Qingxue, and my father is Ruo Zhentian, a general of Xianyuan Kingdom. However, I have had a bad life since I was young. I am the legitimate daughter, and after my mother's death, he quickly carried my concubine to become a stepmother. My stepdaughter now wants to marry the eldest prince because she's afraid I might block her path, so she pushed me down the cliff. I don't plan to go back to my original home now, so I need an identity. Look at your luxurious clothes, unlike ordinary people. It's not difficult to help me get a new registered residence, is it? If Ruo Qingxue finished everything she wanted to say in one breath, Xian Yuanchen was noticeably stunned when he heard Ruo Qingxue's words. Xian Yuanchen did not expect that what she asked for was so simple. She wanted to save her life in exchange for a registered residence. Suddenly, Xian Yuanchen felt that his life was too worthless. For him, this request was simply childish. Xuan Yuanchen thought to himself, since she can see that her identity is not simple, why not seek more benefits for herself? When has her life become so worthless? Xian Yuanchen smiled lightly and said jokingly, my life seems to be too worthless. How can I use a small registered residence to save my life? I will repay you. Why don't you ask me to commit myself? I don't know why, but Xian Yuanchen casually said this sentence and thought to himself, don't you say it all. Does a girl look at her face? I saw that he was still amazed by my face, why didn't she take this opportunity to demand that I make a commitment? Over the years, maids have been like climbing on the bed, ladies throw handkerchiefs, always wanting to get involved, but have been rejected by her own indifference. People are really strange animals, and those who rush feel frivolous. This directly has no intention of him, and he feels regretful. Xian Yuanchen thought to himself, isn't your face handsome enough? If Qingxue considers that she knows very little about the world and only knows that her country is Xianyuan, since she has a national surname, her identity must be not simple. She now needs someone with a strong background to protect her. Isn't this a ready-made candidate? However, she needs to check her character first. If Qingxue didn't refuse, she nodded and agreed. If Qingxue saw Xuanyuanshan finish a bowl, and if Qingxue filled another bowl for him, the two of them were speechless, but no one knew what was on their minds. After a good night's sleep, if Qingxue gets up in the morning, she goes outside and finds a small pool with many fish, fat and tender. If Qingxue listens to the black ball shouting in my mind, Master, Master, I really want to eat fish, braised fish in brown sauce, boiled fish, sweet and sour fillet, steamed fish, pickled Chinese cabbage fish. Originally, Heiqiu found a recipe book in the space and it drooled as he looked at it. Originally, he didn't need to eat, but now he feels so hungry that he can eat a piece of food without eating. If Qingxue made a net bag, caught more than 10 fish, grilled 5, and made the remaining braised fish. She really wants to eat spicy food. Considering that there is an injured patient, it is not suitable to eat spicy food. Let's stick to braised pork instead. Xian Yuanchen watched as I opened the fish's stomach and cleaned it, feeling like it was easy to catch. At first glance, it felt like my sword skills were very good, so he couldn't help but take 2 more glances. He was curious about who learned Ruo Qingxue's swordsmanship from and how he could play with the knife so smoothly. The knife was in Ruo Qingxue's hand, as if it could dance, and the entire movement was very graceful. Xian Yuanchen was also puzzled by Ruo Qingxue's bag, which was pushed off the cliff and contained seasoning inside. This girl looks like a fairy, why is she a foodie? There is seasoning inside the bag. If Qingxue takes the prepared fish out of Xuanyuanshan and goes to wash it. When convenient, if Qingxue secretly puts a few pieces of space for Heiqiu. The black ball bounced and jumped into space, extremely happy. If Qingxue shook her head, she felt helpless and couldn't help but sigh, my spirit is just a foodie. For breakfast, 2 people ate together, including congee, braised fish and grilled fish, which were quite rich. They were relatively familiar with a lot and talked a lot. Xian Yuanchen introduced Ruo Qingxue to the world. There are 4 main countries in this world, Xianyuan, Daxia, Dafeng, and Dazhou, as well as some small countries such as southern Xinjiang and Tubo. However, due to underdeveloped transportation and a relatively small population, they live in one place and rarely interact with other countries outside. What puzzled Xian Yuanchen the most was why there was still rice in Ruo Qingxue's bag. Ruo Qingxue's clothes didn't feel like they belonged to Xianyuan Kingdom. Ruo Qingxue forgot that she thought her clothes were dirty and changed into a white urgent ancient costume. Xian Yuanchen kept staring at Ruo Qingxue and her bag. Ruo Qingxue felt uncomfortable all over when she was seen. Finally, she explained, I self-taught medicine myself and often go out to collect herbs, so I brought myself a bag that contains a lot of food and clothing. The clothes are because this bag is convenient for collecting herbs, and I also like white. I don't know if Xian Yuanchen believes it or not. Anyway, he no longer stared at Ruo Qingxue. Ruo Qingxue felt much more comfortable all over. Consider a patient. If Qingxue would make a nutritious and delicious congee or soup for him every time, it would be light. I hope he will get better soon. But if Qingxue still underestimated the healing speed of ancient wounds. 2 days, just 2 days, Xian Yuanchen can walk around. If Qingxue had to admire this ancient man for his strength, the wound would heal incredibly quickly. Chapter 6. Get out. You are listening at novel.Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. Moving into the Prince's Mansion. You are listening at novel.full.audio. Because she had no place to settle down herself, Ruo Qingxue first moved into Xian Yuanshan's palace. The butler of the royal household, leading all the servants, waited at the door for a long time and saw their prince returning with a girl. Everyone immediately knelt down and said, "The old servant pays respects to the prince, the servant pays respects to the prince." Xian Yuanshan Su helped the butler up and wanted to lift him up. "You don't need to be polite, everyone get up," he said. Although Xuan Yuanshan has not returned for 8 years, there is still a well in Wangfujing. Their prince suddenly brought a woman, and no one dared to look up or look around like a monkey at Ruo Qingxue. They all asked for peace before returning to their posts and continuing to be busy with their own tasks. Ruo Qingxue is very satisfied and thinks. The people under Xian Yuanshan are very awesome and reliable. If Qingxue silently gave Xuan Yuanshan a thumbs up in her heart. If Qingxue knows her beauty, but is being stared at, she still doesn't like it very much. If Qingxue knew that the original owner was looking good, and that she had undergone essence washing and marrow cutting, removing impurities from her body, she would have a feeling of lightness in her whole body. When others saw her, she would have a feeling of being a fairy, which Qingxue also knew. But if Ruo Qingxue just doesn't like being stared at, it's better for her sister to be beautiful alone. If it weren't for Xian Yuanshan's high status, according to Ruo Qingxue's personality, she would paint herself a makeup, hide her beauty and identity, and then come out to walk. Women are too beautiful and lack the ability to protect themselves, which can bring endless trouble to themselves. Although she has the ability to protect herself, she is also unwilling to cause trouble for herself. If Qingxue is arranged in the Xingyue Pavilion next to Xuan Yuanshan's Morning Star Pavilion. The courtyard is very large, with mountains and water. If Qingxue thought to herself, ancient people would really enjoy it. Thinking of modern times, she bought a house for around 20 million yuan, which is less than 200 square meters. Fortunately, she has space as a cheating tool. Otherwise, she would be exhausted from being a doctor, and it would be difficult for her to buy such a big house before 30. In ancient times, this should be a modern villa. This courtyard is so big, and the entire royal mansion is so big. It's better not to wander around the royal mansion at night. In ancient times, having money and power is good. If Qingxue silently remembers, she will work hard to earn money, she cannot live in the royal mansion forever. Suddenly, something came to my mind. The things left by the mother of the original owner had to be brought back, buried under a peach tree in her backyard. I thought to myself, I need to go out tomorrow to step on some things and prepare some more. By the way, I'm coming to the warehouse of the general's mansion. I'm worried about not having money. Let's start with my scumbag father and good stepmother, and also look at my good sister. How could I forget her? Thinking about it excites me, I want to buy a big house. Xiao felt my joy and said, "Master, you're not short of money either. Your master has left a lot of jewelry and gold. Let's not make it look like we haven't seen any money before, okay? Xiao, what do you know? I call it venting, I call it revenge. This is venting my anger on the original owner. They care most about reputation, power, status, and money. I make them have nothing. They want to attach themselves to the crown prince just for the sake of power and status. I make them not use their value to see whether the crown prince will marry or not. Without beauty, how will she marry?" Little Black Ball's body trembled, feeling like the owner was good or bad. But it likes to treat bad people more harshly. In the afternoon, the butler personally came and asked Ruo Qingxue if she was dissatisfied. She brought some clothes and jewelry, and also invited the people from the Weaver Maiden to measure her size. She said she would customize some clothes and jewelry for her. If Qingxue didn't originally want it, but the butler said that her clothes looked similar to those of Xianyuan Kingdom on the surface, but upon closer inspection, the difference was quite significant, making it easy for people to recognize that she was not from Xianyuan Kingdom. If Qingxue forgets about this, she will be very regretful. It feels like she was careless and did as the Romans did. If Qingxue thinks she should change. Girls all love beauty. I heard that it's difficult to determine the clothes in the Weaver Girl workshop. The normal construction period is 3 months and 6 months or more, and she can get the clothes in these 10 days. It's really good to have the right, everything is convenient. Everything in the Wang mansion is good, but the food here is really a bit too light. If Qingxue is from the north and prefers salty and spicy flavors, the dishes in the Wang mansion are either soup or water. Although they are exquisite and healthy, they do not suit my taste. If Qingxue suddenly thinks about how to make money when she comes to this world. Starting from eating, restaurants and hot pot restaurants are all fine, and if Qingxue sees a lot of silver waving at her, it's as if she's waving at her. If Qingxue feels that her original profession cannot be lost, she herself is studying surgery in modern times. Her grandfather used to be a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, but later went to her hometown undercover and became a farmer and herder. If Qingxue perfectly inherits her grandfather's legacy, the original owner would have some knowledge of Chinese medicine. If Qingxue feels that she can rely entirely on her medical skills to make a living, but as a doctor, she is afraid that someone will cause trouble. As a doctor for so many years, she has seen all kinds of strange patients and their families. Let's keep this for now and take a look. I have been with Xianyuanshan these days and have never had the opportunity to practice. However, at night, my spirit will return to the space. Since I am ready to open a hot pot shop, chili is essential. So far, I haven't seen chili peppers in this country yet. I plan to monopolize them from the source. I first planted a large area of chili peppers in the space, all of which are particularly spicy and spicy. With the blessing of spiritual energy in spring water, the space can harvest one crop in 3.4 days. Xiao Hei is responsible for taking care of the fruit trees and medicinal herbs in the space. When they are ripe, he takes them to the storage room. This time, he also dries the chili peppers he planted, and a portion is directly sent to the storage room. He said he will improve with the speed of my cultivation, the greater his ability. If Qingxue is at the 3rd level of qi refining and practicing fire attributes, it also has fire attributes. Moreover, if Qingxue improves, he will also improve. If he cultivates, Qingxue will also benefit. If Qingxue really wants to take a small whip and watch him practice from behind, then she won't have to practice anymore. However, it seems unrealistic at the moment. If Qingxue finds out that Xiao Hei's hobby is not cultivation, but eating, so she should practice this thing herself. Xuanyuanshan returned and immediately entered the palace. It was already late at night and he had not returned. It is estimated that he was left behind by the emperor. When Ruo Qingxue was thinking about something, the butler came again, bringing 4 maids and 2 nannies to take care of Ruo Qingxue. You're really thoughtful. These 6 people were carefully selected at first glance. The 2 maids were Wang Mama and Li Mama, and the 4 maids were just bought and trained before coming to work. When they saw Ruo Qingxue, they immediately knelt down and asked for her name. If Qingxue asked them if they were willing to serve in this Star Moon Pavilion. If she doesn't want to leave now, she will pretend that nothing has happened. If willing, stay loyal, they cannot afford the consequences of betrayal. It is said that they are willing. If Qingxue feels that she has given them a chance, and if someone is not loyal, she will definitely not be lenient. After all, if Qingxue had been studying medicine for many years, it was not uncommon for her to die. In college, she would have to watch the bodies soaked in formalin every day. Organ research and autopsy were still commonplace. But if Qingxue is a cultivator, she cannot harm ordinary people, but there are still many ways to make a person's life more painful than death. If Qingxue gives 4 maids names: Spring Breeze, Summer Flowers, autumn leaves, and winter rain. Thank you, if Qingxue, let them go down. After all, as a newcomer, Ruo Qingxue is not used to having someone to serve her. If Qingxue likes to do her own things and doesn't like her personal space, others may appear. Chapter 8. Eating Hot Pot with Xiao Hei. You are listening at novel full.audio. Xiao Hei told Ruo Qingxue that there was a cultivation room behind the study, which had a spirit-gathering array. In terms of time, he spent 10 days outside, practicing inside for a month, and only 3 days outside. Xiao Hei seemed to have discovered the new world, jumping and jumping to tell Ruo Qingxue. If Qingxue's eyes lit up upon hearing it, she would have to exclaim, "It's really a good place. Xiao Hei, you have made great contributions this time. How about I reward you with a hot pot dinner tonight?" Ruo Qingxue said happily. Can Qingxue say she doesn't want to cook? Hot pot is the most convenient, but Xiao Hei didn't know. Xiao Hei was very happy. When he heard that the owner wanted to invite him to eat hot pot, both eyes were shining, and he was very happy. Previously, Xiao had always heard from his owner that hot pot was delicious. He wanted to conquer the world with hot pot, make money with it, and let him grow chili peppers. This time, he must taste it well. The things are very simple, and the methods are even simpler. If Qingxue brings her favorite spicy hot pot seasoning, boils it in water, and cleans the vegetables, but these vegetables have already been replaced with those produced in the space. Xiao Hei said that if Qingxue is a cultivator, eating too many common things can hinder cultivation. The vegetables produced in the space are both delicious and will not hinder the body's cultivation. Xiao Hei asked Ruo Qingxue to drink a glass of spiritual spring water every day, which would help her cultivate. If Qingxue sighs at Xiao, he is really a good helper, so it is necessary to reward Xiao well. After all, in Ruo Qingxue's heart, Xiao is both her friend and a responsible partner, treating her well without any burden. If Qingxue brings lamb rolls, beef rolls, steamed fish balls, caviar balls, tender tofu, and her beloved tripe, all of them. Another 2 glasses of cola water with ice. If Qingxue and Xiao are in the space, they are enjoying themselves. Xiao says they are delicious while eating. If Qingxue also thinks they are delicious, her recent diet may have been too light and almost diluted, which is not to her taste. It's sweet, and if Qingxue doesn't like it even more. If Qingxue wants to eat spicy food, her favorite. If Qingxue and Xiao start not talking and only move their chopsticks, it's like comparing speed, they both cover their heads and don't speak, feeling like they're eating faster than anyone else. In the end, if Qingxue loses the battle. Xiao Hei finally ate and lay down, unable to walk. The dishes on the table left him with nothing left to eat. The most exaggerated thing is that Xiao actually drank the bottom of the hot pot soup. What a powerful black ball. Admire, if Qingxue truly admires Xiao, be willing to bow down. If Qingxue looked at Xiao and felt sorry, she decided to prepare more delicious food for him next time. But not long after, she regretted it later. Because if Qingxue discovers that no matter how much food she prepares for Xiao, he still eats it without fail, and even feels like it can eat a cow at once. If Qingxue feels like she's washing vegetables and cooking by herself, one day she'll be exhausted if she doesn't speak. This is the sequel. If Qingxue doesn't know yet and is still fantasizing about what good food to reward Xiao with next time. Leave the little black ball on the bed to savor the taste of hot pot. If Qingxue went to practice, she would first drink a glass of spiritual spring water to purify her body. If Qingxue's hands can already produce small fireballs, which may not look very powerful, but if this fire attribute is attached to a weapon with fire attribute, it may not provide spiritual protection for ordinary people, and may be directly burned out with great power. For those who know martial arts, they may not be able to dodge and may also suffer burns. If Qingxue feels that there is no problem with self-protection at present. Practice is like this, time always passes by quickly, and one practice in the training room lasts for 2 days. If Qingxue felt that her spiritual power had slightly increased, she would be happy and tell others not to disturb her when she came in. The maidservants and servants of Prince Chen's mansion thought that Ruo Qingxue had been sleeping in bed all along and didn't dare to disturb her. In fact, Ruo Qingxue had been in the space for more than 2 days, and now she has come out. To outsiders, Ruo Qingxue only rested in the room for 2 hours. If Qingxue man is happy and sees everything happily, by the way, he asked the maid Chunyu. Spring rain, has Xian Yuanchen returned? I haven't come back yet, miss, Chunyu replied. Okay, if she doesn't come back, she won't come back. If Qingxue closes the door again, goes to the space, and returns to the cultivation room, this time is not cultivation. If Qingxue plans to prepare some good things for her scumbag father's family, she hopes that this family won't be too grateful to her and think of them like this. If Qingxue also prepares some self-protection antidotes and poisons. If Qingxue had read novels and TV dramas before and knew that ancient people loved to poison people the most, she felt that she should be careful and not careless. I absolutely cannot commit such a foolish thing as a sewer capsizing. Be careful when sailing for thousands of years, it's better to be careful yourself. Xian Yuanchen, when he returned to the capital, many people were eager to move. Empress, the faction of the Grand Prince is full of hatred and itching teeth. They have sent so many people to assassinate before, but none of them have succeeded. If Qingxue wants to know the thoughts of the Empress and the Grand Prince, she will definitely praise them. What a waste. When the 9th prince was young, he didn't get rid of him, but now he wants to get rid of him even when he is old. What kind of dream do you have? Are you daydreaming too much? It's just a daydream. When Xuan Yuanchen was young, they wanted to get rid of him. The emperor arranged personal protection and secret guards, like iron barrels, to protect both sides and ensure Xuan Yuanchen's safety. On the battlefield, Xuan Yuanchen almost died several times and narrowly escaped death. All of them were the dark guards sent by the emperor, who fought to the death to protect them. Therefore, Xuan Yuanchen respected and trusted them very much, treating them as brothers. Of course, trust between people also comes at a cost. The dark guard proved his loyalty to Xian Yuanchen with his own life. So on the way back to the capital, I chased after him all the way and finally heard the report that Prince Chen was almost dead, and now he has returned well. The Empress and the eldest prince were extremely angry, furious, and in their own palace, they were furious. I don't know how many teacups they dropped, and their subordinates were punished. It was like complaining. The pearl hairpin on Empress Chao's head was elegant and luxurious, and the pair of East pearl earrings on her ears were as bright as new. Empress Chao really liked these earrings because they were a symbol of her identity. In ancient times, East pearl was rare and only the emperor and empress were qualified to wear them. Empress Chao should be considered a great beauty, but now she has a fierce expression on her face and her words are even more disrespectful. When I was alive, I took over the emperor, became a living dead person, and also took over the emperor's heart. Bitch, I'm going to die soon. Why don't I take her son to die together? I heard that whenever the emperor has time, he goes to accompany that living dead woman. The emperor has been delaying the appointment of a crown prince, just thinking about passing on the throne to that lowly son. I won't let them be satisfied. The throne can only belong to my son. Whoever blocks the path of this palace will let them all die. This palace is the empress, the emperor's legitimate wife. Why does that lowly son become the emperor? Why does the emperor only have her in his heart? Give a message to Prime Minister Chao, get rid of that bastard as soon as possible. I want them all to die, there is no place to bury themselves. The empress's wet nurse, Chao Mama, kept her head down and dared not speak. Upon hearing Empress Chao's words, she let out a sigh, shook her head, and went to deliver the message. The young lady was originally a lady from a wealthy family, very virtuous and virtuous. When did her beloved little princess become like this? What's different from a shrew now? Xiao Mama knew that Empress Qiao's ambition gradually increased from the moment she entered the palace, and her people became more and more greedy. She didn't know how to be satisfied, and after obtaining the position of Empress Qiao, she wanted the emperor's favor. After giving birth to a son, she also wanted her own son to be crowned as the crown prince. But who is the emperor and how can she act according to her wishes? I have already advised you that the emperor is the emperor and I cannot like him. When Empress Qiao was young, she fell in love with the emperor who was still the crown prince. While the emperor was still young and the crown prince was still young, she used the power of Prime Minister Qiao to successfully marry the then crown prince and became the crown princess. But the emperor didn't like the women in the harem at all. Later, the emperor brought back his junior sister and conferred the title of Qianfei, doting on her. As a result, the empress's temper became increasingly bad and her personality became more and more insane. Originally, when the emperor's woman became pregnant, the empress always secretly harmed her. Now only 9 princes and 2 princesses have survived, leaving behind either those with means or those with strong family backgrounds. The emperor's repeated warnings were ineffective, and he grew even more disgusted with the empress. In the end, Empress Chen suddenly became a living dead person, and the emperor's heart died. He no longer came to the harem. The harem was originally a tool for the emperor to spread branches and leaves. With 9 princes, the emperor may have thought it was enough, so he almost never stepped into the harem. Although the harem is not a cold palace, it is no different from a cold palace. The emperor dislikes getting close to several princes, especially the eldest prince, who has never been under his control. The eldest prince was raised by the empress alone, and the empress dotes on him. After all, in this palace, the eldest prince is the only comfort for the empress. The empress originally thought that giving birth to the first prince for the emperor would receive the emperor's special treatment, but the result was nothing. The emperor didn't care about any legitimate or illegitimate sons, let alone the first prince. Because the empress and the eldest prince relied on the immense power of their mother's family, they acted arrogantly and recklessly, offending many people and doing many bad things. The emperor has been looking for an opportunity to uproot himself, but has been struggling to find one. Most importantly, Empress Qiao has an older brother who served as a general on the border of Xianyuan state and the Zhou dynasty. The emperor is very wary of the Qiao prime minister's family. This is also the main reason why Empress Chen was poisoned to death, and the emperor knew it was the empress who did it, but did not depose her. The main reason why so many unborn princes were killed in the harem was that the emperor turned a blind eye and did not care about the lives of those unborn children in his heart. After all, many of those children were not what the emperor wanted to have, but there were intricate connections between the former dynasty and the harem. The emperor sometimes had to become a stallion, but he also did not want the concubines to have children. The empress happened to be the sword in the emperor's hand, helping to deal with it. After all, if the emperor personally handles it, it is inevitable to leave traces and be discovered by those with intentions, which is not beneficial to the country and stability of the previous dynasty. The empress's wet nurse, although knowing that the empress was doing something wrong, saw her crazy appearance and knew that she couldn't control it. She couldn't resist and had to obediently pass on the message. After all, the lives of her family were under the control of Prime Minister Qiao. Chapter 9. Grand Prince Xian Yuanhong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Grand Prince Xian Yuanhong, the eldest prince, is not much better either. His name is Xian Yuanhong, who is in his 20s and is in his 30s. His face looks very similar to Empress Qiao, but upon closer inspection, it bears some resemblance to the current emperor. Because his son resembles his mother, he still looks very handsome on the outside. After all, his parents are both good-looking, but his heart is dark and unpredictable. A teacup crashes to the ground with a bang. Then came the roaring voice of the eldest prince, with a strong anger. How did that wild seed come back? Shouldn't it die outside? They were almost dead, but someone saved them. It's really lucky. How did you servants handle things? Didn't you say that he will definitely die this time? I raised you all for nothing, a group of trash, a group of people can't kill a single person. What am I raising you for? Why don't you go die? The Crown Prince roared angrily. Go down to receive punishment. Thank you to the Crown Prince. My subordinate the Dark Guard hurried down, really afraid that the eldest prince would go crazy again. Over the years, every time the eldest prince fails, he will severely punish his subordinates, some of whom will be killed directly, without looking at the people around the ninth prince. They are all carefully selected by the emperor. And the ninth prince has excellent martial arts skills, which he fought hard on the battlefield. The eldest prince cannot do anything to his emperor father and Xian Yuanhong, but his anger must be vented, so every time his subordinates suffer. As soon as the eldest prince thought that Xuan Yuanhong was still alive, his teeth became itchy with anger. He picked up the maid next to him, pressed her on the table, and vented his anger. The secret guards outside didn't even need to listen to the sound coming from inside, they knew what was happening inside. The maid inside made a mournful voice, along with the curses and curses of the eldest prince, and his furious roar after venting. Although the eldest prince does not have a legitimate wife, there are many women in the mansion, including dozens of concubines and maids. As long as the eldest prince needs it, whether it is a maid or a female secret guard, they will pull him to bed. Afterwards, the wet nurse of the eldest prince will always bring a bowl of soup to avoid children and explain to everyone that no one is allowed to leave a child without marrying the eldest prince's consort or giving birth to a legitimate consort. This is also the meaning of the eldest prince, as well as the meaning of the empress in the palace. The eldest prince does not want to have children, but he hopes to use his position as the chief consort to hire a powerful official and help him obtain the throne. After all, in the heart of the eldest prince, children will come sooner or later. He himself is young and strong, and he will have them sooner or later. Women are like clothes, he has never looked directly at the women around him. If they are in a good mood, they will be given the status of concubines. If they are not in a good mood, they will continue to work as ordinary maids, not even connecting rooms, doing the lowest things in the Grand Prince's mansion. When someone climbs the bed, he enjoys it directly. With the mother and wet nurse watching from the side, there won't be any big trouble, so he always lives like this. The eldest prince also knows that his father does not like him, and if he wants the throne, he must fight for it himself. Chen Fei was harmed by her mother, so what can she do? Only power is the way. Look at Lao Jiao and Father Emperor, who knew it was my mother who did it, but because they were afraid of the influence of their maternal grandfather's family, they never did anything to her. They just didn't like us. When the eldest prince thought about these things, in order to fill his inner injustice, he showed no mercy towards the maids beside him, like a wild beast, venting his dissatisfaction. Perhaps only in this way can he hide his lack of love. The more the emperor dislikes their mother and son, the more twisted his heart becomes and his actions become more crazy. In fact, the empress and the grand prince have also thought of things, and Prime Minister Qiao has always wanted to get rid of the ninth prince, but he has not been successful. On the surface, the emperor said he had sent the ninth prince out for training, but no one knew where he had gone. In recent years, as the reputation of the ninth prince rose in the border, they finally found out that the ninth prince was at the border. What the emperor said to the outside world was to send the ninth prince to the border for training, but in fact, he also wanted to control military power in the hands of the ninth prince. This is equivalent to directly placing the throne in the hands of the ninth prince, who now has merit, military power, and an emperor in court. The confidants of the emperor's faction must support the emperor in appointing the ninth prince as the crown prince. When Prime Minister Qiao thought of these things, his teeth became itchy with hatred, and he sent people several times to try to kill the ninth prince. But the emperor beside him sent a mysterious dark guard, which is said to be highly skilled in martial arts. These are the people carefully selected by the emperor, who surrounded the ninth prince like iron. These people are all highly skilled warriors, some skilled in mechanisms and some skilled in medicine. The emperor had a very comprehensive plan for the ninth prince. Later on, it was discovered that Emperor Shi was not returning home from old age, but was secretly arranged to be a teacher by the side of the ninth prince. There was a great scholar like Emperor Shi teaching beside him. Although the ninth prince was at the border, the emperor did not neglect his teachings at all, so he did not succeed in these years. This is the closest moment for Xuan Yuanchen to die, and he was saved by someone. It's really despicable. Once the ninth prince ascends to the throne, he will definitely eliminate the empress's faction first. His father, the empress, is the first to bear the brunt. After all, he has been the sword in the empress's hands for these years. Prime Minister Qiao and the ninth prince are really mortal enemies. Either you die or I die. People are not for themselves, and heaven and earth will perish. After all, the ninth prince's mother's consort was hired by the empress, and he himself is an accomplice. How can he escape? The ninth prince, no matter how stunning his talent is, will still be strangled in the cradle, said Prime Minister Qiao fiercely. Prime Minister Qiao called the secret guard next to him and said, "Let me investigate. Who saved that wild seed? We must give her countless pieces of flesh, it's hard to dispel my hatred. If there is clear snow here, I don't know if anyone wants Xuan Yuanchen's life because I saved her." She felt her nose itch and sneezed heavily, thinking to herself, "Is it someone who misses me? I don't know anyone here, and the person who misses me probably isn't a good person either. It could be my enemy or someone who wants to kill me. I'll make you want to kill me but can't kill me. It's painful." If Qingxue regains her senses and continues her medication career, these are good things. They are her means of saving her life, and she can even retaliate against the enemy, cheerleading. If Qingxue is very happy. Xuan Yuanchen has been in the palace, accompanying his mother. Her mother is still like that, no different from 8 years ago. Even her appearance has not changed, nor has she aged. She has been lying down all the time, as if she has lost the feeling of breathing. She has invited countless imperial and divine doctors, but none of them can make her wake up. Xuan Yuanchen was very sad to see such a mother consort, and his heart was filled with resentment towards the empress. He was very anxious and thought to himself, that which didn't know what method she used to turn her into a living dead person. I have been investigating for years, and most likely, the mother consort has planted a kind of insect called the sleeping goo. This kind of insect has been around for at least 8 years, and if it hasn't been released for 10 years, it will die in her sleep. I have been searching for the mother consort, and you can wait for me. I have been keeping that poisonous woman, hoping to find out where that mother goo insect is, but I haven't found it yet. I have found it. Mother, you said I cut the son of that witch alive. Will she come up with a way to relieve the goo insect? If I can't find a way again, I'll have to do this. I must save mother. Xuan Yuanchen's tears dripped down the corners of his eyes, feeling very sad. He was afraid that they would fall on the face of Consort Chen, so he quickly wiped them off. Xuan Yuanchen went to the imperial study to see his father, the emperor, only after finishing his examination of Empress Chen. At this time, Xuan Yuanchen was still left in the palace by the emperor. Not seen in 8 years, the emperor seems to have a lot to say. Looking at this face with shadows of himself and his beloved woman, his heart is filled with mixed feelings. Although Xuan Yuanchen looks very much like an emperor, upon closer inspection, one can still see the shadow of Consort Chen on this face. The emperor looked at Xuan Yuanchen's face and his thoughts had drifted away. Our son, Starry Rain, has grown up and looks very much like you. I know you blame me. You were originally a star in the sky, and you loved the beautiful sky. It was I who pulled you into this mortal world, but I didn't protect you and Chinner, making you a living dead person. My son is suffering at the border. But if I were to choose again, I would still pull you into my arms, just be more careful to protect your mother and son, but I still won't let go. The mortal world is full of suffering. If I cannot even obtain my beloved woman, all that remains for me is pain, only this river and mountain. Every day there are endless intrigues, endless memorials, and starry rain, I will never let go. You are already mine, I just regret not getting rid of that which earlier and never seeking revenge for you. Watching that family bouncing around and wanting to sit in my seat, dream. I have the opportunity to break down that which into countless pieces. Chen has finally grown up, and I have already confessed to you. When I accompany you, I will give this land to our Chener, and I can rest assured. Wherever you go, I will accompany you, and you will surely wake up. Look at our son, he has grown up. Chapter 10. Subtle Atmosphere. You are listening at novel full.audio. After the emperor calmed his emotions, he asked Prince Chen to accompany him for lunch. The two of them talked a lot about the family of Prime Minister Xiao. I have long harbored a deep hatred towards the actions of the Xiao Prime Minister's family. I have no love for the Empress and the Crown Prince, only hatred, and therefore do not care much about family relationships. The Emperor had long wanted to uproot them, but he struggled to find evidence of their treason. And the Empress's brother has been at the Great Periphery Pass, holding the talisman. Anyway, the Empress's family will have to deal with it sooner or later. I heard that they sent many people to assassinate you this time, pushing you into a cliff and continuing to pursue you. I heard that someone later saved Huang'er from you. Have you ever thanked someone? I heard it was a woman, and she was very beautiful. The Emperor's gossiping face, don't be too gossiping. It seems like you're saying, I know all about it. You should praise me quickly, and it's almost like pulling coal for your own son Bao Xian. After all, the Emperor heard that his son brought the young girl to the Prince Chen's mansion and even arranged to live in the Star Moon Pavilion, what is Xingyue Pavilion. It's the closest place to Qinxing Pavilion, the courtyard for the future Princess Chen to live in. Can the Emperor not be curious about his son's thoughts? Xuan Yuanchen ignored the Emperor and only warned him not to interfere in his affairs. If his daughter-in-law was lost, he would not want the throne and become a monk. The Emperor is exhausted, and he is still waiting for his son to inherit the throne. He doesn't want to do anything. Their thrones are all snatched, their thrones are given as gifts, but their son still despises them. And he also knew that the imperial son despised him for not having the ability to protect his mother's consort. What can he do if he finds the throne troublesome? He can't give it to anyone else, he can only ask Xian Yuanchen to inherit it. The Emperor thinks it's okay to have a grandson, but this son won't let him interfere in his affairs either. The Emperor's idea is very beautiful, but when he encounters this son who doesn't want to eat oil and salt, he feels a headache. If the Emperor does not inherit, it is also possible to cultivate a grandson. It is also possible to plant branches and leaves early and give him a grandson, but he does not want this son. He wants to find someone who will be a couple for a lifetime. The Emperor expressed helplessness and exhaustion. When he was young, the Emperor himself also wanted to have a couple for a lifetime. He also promised Chen Er's mother to live that kind of life, but he still broke his promise. The Emperor feels that he is indeed quite incompetent. He wants to balance the court with women, and it is normal for him to be despised by his son. Xian Yuanchen stayed with his mother for a long time, and only returned after having dinner with the Emperor in the evening. The father Emperor has also aged a lot, and in recent years, Xian Yuanchen knows that he is not easy. He and his mother need his protection. He is young and lacks the ability to protect himself, and the country needs stability. Father has been searching for a divine doctor, hoping to save his mother's wife. Xian Yuanchen felt extremely heartbroken when he saw the Emperor's 8 years of white hair. He didn't like the throne himself, but in order to seek revenge and for the sake of his father, he still worked hard to train himself. Attempting to understand the father Emperor. After thinking for a long time, looking at the moonlight, thinking about the happy time of his father and mother in childhood. Xian Yuanchen returned to the Prince Chen's mansion when he returned in the evening, the butler told Xian Yuanchen that Miss Qingxue had been in her yard all along, as if she had not eaten dinner. Xian Yuanchen hurriedly walked into Ruo Qingxue's yard, but no one answered when he knocked on the door. He was about to open it. If Qingxue pushed the door open and came out, she had been dispensing medicine in the space just now. Fortunately, Xiao heard someone knocking on the door outside and reminded her. "Qingxue, I heard you didn't have dinner." Oh, if Qingxue only remembered about dinner and had a hot pot meal with Xiao, she wouldn't even want to eat the dishes from the Wang mansion. "I'm not hungry, I don't feel like eating for now," said Ruo Qingxue. If Qingxue hadn't lied, she wouldn't have been hungry. There were various delicious foods in the space, and she would have eaten them casually when she was hungry, but most of them were spicy. She could eat whatever she wanted, which was her favorite food. Xian Yuanchen quickly asked if Ruo Qingxue was feeling unwell and had no appetite. "Are you sick? How can a person not eat?" He, if Qingxue could only smile awkwardly, it would be embarrassing to say that I don't like to eat the food of the Wang mansion. Later, Xian Yuanchen realized that if you can't get used to the food in the palace, let the cook cook what you like. "I said I want noodles, chicken soup noodles, plus tomatoes, sour and sweet." Xian Yuanchen asked the kitchen to make a bowl of chicken noodles and soup according to my instructions, and specifically told the kitchen that he would prepare food according to my taste in the future. If he didn't understand, he asked Miss Qingxue. If Qingxue confirms one thing with Xuan Yuanchen again, this place doesn't have chili peppers, it's not good. I can monopolize it, and no one can imitate me when making hot pot. Xian Yuanchen watched as Ruo Qingxue ate a large bowl of noodles. He felt relieved. Seeing Ruo Qingxue eating so fragrant, Xian Yuanchen kept staring at himself. Ruo Qingxue couldn't ignore his gaze. "Do you want to eat some?" If Qingxue asked foolishly. Okay, then Xian Yuanchen surprisingly picked up Ruo Qingxue's chopsticks and took a big bite. "Delicious. That's my chopsticks," but before Ruo Qingxue could say it, the noodles had already entered Xian Yuanchen's mouth. The atmosphere suddenly became subtle, with a hint of ambiguity. Cough, but in the end, Ruo Qingxue opened her mouth and said, "That's my chopsticks." Xian Yuanchen looked at Ruo Qingxue and said, "It's okay, I don't mind you." If Qingxue rolled her eyes at him and didn't want to talk to him, and asked him to eat all the remaining noodles, he would have eaten them all. Didn't he have eaten them with the Empress in the palace? Why are you still snatching my noodles? If Qingxue really wants to ask him, doesn't he know that men and women are different? Looking at someone who usually loves cleanliness, and according to Ruo Qingxue's observation, he still has a slight obsession with cleanliness. Xiao Hei shouted in the space, "Does Xuan Yuanchen like you?" Ruo Qingxue's mind asked, "Xiao Hei, how did you know?" Xiao Hei confidently said, "The love movies and costume movies I watched on your computer were all portrayed that way." If Qingxue is speechless, she asks Xiao to look less at those things, which is not suitable for children. Xiao Hei pouted and walked away. "Anyway, I think Xian Yuanchen just likes you." If Qingxue looked at Xuan Yuanchen with a strange expression, she wanted to ask directly. Later, she thought about it and observed it again. Xuan Yuanchen finished eating and then returned to his study to handle things. Suddenly, he remembered the scene of himself eating noodles with Ruo Qingxue's chopsticks. Thinking of Ruo Qingxue's shocked expression, Xian Yuanchen suddenly raised the corner of his mouth. "Ruo Qingxue, you are mine, I will not let go. I know you still have no feelings for me, and I will slowly let you know. I know my mother's consort. She used to blame her father for being domineering and forcing her into this harem. Hating my own father, breaking the promise of a lifetime and marrying so many women. She didn't like the life in the harem, it was her father who forced her in. My father likes his mother, who is his junior sister. The father originally wanted to be a prince and spend his whole life with her, living the married life of ordinary people. But the late emperor suddenly had an emergency and quickly called Xian Yuanchen's father back. The father was studying arts outside and was quickly recalled to the palace to succeed. In order to stabilize the country, Father Emperor married Empress Qiao, and it took 3 years for the country to finally stabilize. Father misses his mother, who is the white moonlight and cinnabar mole in his heart. The father emperor betrayed the promise of the mother consort to be a couple for a lifetime. The mother consort did not want to have any further relationship with the father emperor, but the father emperor was very domineering. He directly imprisoned the mother consort in the palace and forced her to be conferred the title of Qin consort. Xuan is the son of the current emperor, and his father is the domineering ruler. It is said that dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, and the son of mice can make holes. Yuanhong perfectly inherited the domineering personality engraved in his father's bones, and what he wanted was what he wanted. I won't have many women like my father did. I just want a lifetime of one and only one wife. The main reason why a mother is intoxicated and unconscious is due to having too many women. So I either don't look for it, or I just want one. I only drink a spoonful of water to protect my woman from harm. If Qingxue still doesn't know that she has been stared at by Xuan, and she is very domineering. She only felt cold, with a feeling of being calculated.